Alright, in this video we're going to be doing question 2 on RP13. Before this video you should have watched the first video and recall that a proportional relationship can be written in the form of y equals mx. Y is the dependent variable, m is the constant of proportionality or the unit rate, or y over x, and x is the independent variable. Alright, so question 2. We have a table here, miles and hours. If we were explaining what this table actually means, we could say that, for every 15 miles for every 0.5 hours, for every half hour, we go 15 miles. For every 3 hours, we go 90 miles, and so on. Now, to find our constant of proportionality, we need to find y over x. Y over x. So let's check. Our hours is going to be our x. The miles is going to be y. For our first row, we're going to have 15 over 0.5, which is 30. For our second column, we're going to have 90 over 3. That's also 30. And for the last one, we have 210 over 7, which is 30. Alright, so our constant of proportionality is 30. And remember, the general form for our equation is y equals mx. M is the constant of proportionality. So our equation is going to be y equals 30, the constant of proportionality, and x. Alright, use your equation to find the number of miles traveled in 2 1/4 hours in 1 day. Alright, so let's do 2 1/4 hours first. So write that down, 2 1/4 hours. Now, going back to our table, we can see that the hours is the x-axis. So this means that we want to find what our y is when our x equals 2 1/4 hours. Now we could write that as 2.25 hours, or you could even write it as 9 over 4 hours. Alright, so or 9/4 hours. So, rewrite your equation. Y equals 30x. And since we only have x equals 2.25, we only have to replace the x. So y equals 30 times 2.25. And our answer is going to be 67.5 miles. Alright, so this means that in 2.25 hours, or 2 1/4 hours, we travel 67.5 miles. Alright, done. Now for 1 day. Now, we have to see what day means in terms of our x. Now, first instinct might be to write x equals 1 for 1 day. But when we look at our table, our x value, once again, is written in hours. Alright, so we need to convert 1 day into hours. So instead of having x equals 1, it's going to be x equals 24 hours, right? Because 24 hours represents 1 day. All right, so everything looks good, and we continue as we did with the other question. Rewrite your equation. Always rewrite your equation. Y equals 30x. Since we only have x equals 24 hours, we only have to replace x with 24. So 30 times 24. And we're going to get 720 miles. All right? So this means in 1 day, or you could write in 24 hours, we travel 720 miles. All right? And that's it. Let's move on to a more difficult example. In this example, we have question 7. So please take your worksheet and go over to question 7. All right. So in question 7, we no longer have a table, right? So if you remember in graphs, we can find the constant of proportionality by first checking if it's proportional. Well, this graph is indeed proportional because it's a straight line that touches the origin, so that's taken care of. And to find the constant of proportionality, we take any easy point and we find y over x. So we actually have a couple easy points. So we have 1, 60, which is right here, and we also have 4, 240. All right. So those are all good. So then once again, if we pick any of those points, k equals y over x. For our 4, 240, we will have 240 over 4, and this gives us 60. If we chose the other point, 1, 60, we would have 60 over 1, which is 60. All right, so this means our constant of proportionality is 60, and our equation is going to be y equals 60x. All right, moving on to question C. How many hours would it take a car to travel 360 miles, 500 miles? All right, so let's do 360 miles first. All right. Now, if we were consistent with what we did in the other questions, you might write x equals 360 miles. Right? But when we actually look at the question, we see that miles is our y-axis, hours is our x-axis. Right? So since miles is our y-axis, we're going to start this off by writing y equals 360 miles. Right? And if we look back at the question, it says, how many hours would it take a car to travel 360 miles? So if we think of this mathematically, we're really asking, what is our x, hours, when our y, miles, is 360, right? So that means y equals 360, give me my x. All right, so we have y equals 360 miles. Rewrite your equation. Y equals 60x. Now, in the other questions we had x equals some number, so we had to substitute x for that number. In this case, we have y equals, so we have to substitute y. So if y equals 360, we have to replace the y in our equation with 360. So this is going to be rewritten as 360 equals, constant proportionality never changes, and X is what we're looking for, which is our hours. All right. Now, this should look very familiar. To solve this, we divide by the coefficient in front of X on both sides. This divides to 1. So we're left with X equals 360 by 60. That gives us 6 hours. So what this means is, in other words, it takes 6 hours to travel 360 miles. All right, let's do the next part. The next part is asking for 500 miles. Once again, miles is our y-axis. So that means y equals 500 miles. Always rewrite your equation. Y equals 60x. And since we're starting with a y equals, we're going to replace our y in our equation with whatever number the y equals. In this case, it's 500. And we keep everything else the same, 60x. All right. Once again, divide 60 on both sides. This divides to 1. 500 over 60. And we get 8.3. And that continues hours. So we would write, it takes 8.3 hours to travel 500 miles. All right, this is a 5. And another way to write 8.3 with a bar over it is actually 8 1/3. All right, so either answer is fine. Make sure you are able to write a sentence or two concluding what you found. And any other questions, please come to Extra Help. All right, thank you for watching.